Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be doing a story time. So what the story time is basically about, I had a bully in 3rd grade, which is now in 5th, so about 2 years ago. But the bully, he only lasted for 11 minutes. So yeah, that's what the story's about to be about. Alright, so when this all started, when I was in 3rd grade, I went to a new school. One of my favorite schools, actually. It's in Northmore. Shout out to Northmore, one of my favorite schools. So in Northmore, I went there, my first year there was in 3rd grade. So then I went there. I was like, oh, okay, pretty cool. And then my first week there, I think there was this black kid that tried to bully me. And so this is how it was. At first he's like, oh yeah, he's like one of those kids, like the trouble kids. Like he would make a lot of trouble. He would cry a lot in class. He's one of those type of kids. He would make fusses for no reason, for no apparent reason. So we were in library, okay? And then out of nowhere, he slaps the book out of my hand. And then I'm like, yo, what was that for? He's like, because I don't like you. So I was like, okay. I didn't really think much of it because I didn't really care. Then I just grabbed my book back up, start reading again, and he kicks my leg. I was like, dude, what? He's like, nothing. I just don't like you. I was like, okay, then cool. I don't care. Then I just go back to reading my book, and then out of nowhere, he slaps the book out of my hand again. And then I just do this to the table inside the library, like, dude, what do you want? He's like, nothing, I don't like you. I was like, okay, if you don't like me, then go to a different table. And then, so he's like, no. So then he kicks me again. I get up, slap him. Then we start getting into a fight. So he was a skinny kid. So I slap him. He still doesn't stop. So then we get into this fist fight. I punch him and punch him and punch him. And then boom, he starts to burst out crying. And then teacher comes. What's happening? What's happening? I'm like, well, how about this little kid right here that's acting like he's retarded, kicking me and throwing my book out of my hand twice, kicked me 3 times. I'm like, he kicked me 3 times, and I hit the book out of my hand twice. She's like, well, there's no reason to be using your hands. I'm I was like, I got mad, and he just was, ever since then, he would be like, hey bro, and then kick me out of nowhere. So we'd get more and more fights. I'd punch him and stuff like that. And then one day he really got on my nerves, because that day I wasn't trying to get into any trouble or anything. So what I was doing is I was trying to get into I was trying to not get into trouble that day. So then guess what he does? He throws, when we're on the playground, I think there's tiny rocks. He throws rocks at me. I don't think much of it. That's about 1 month in school, so I made about 2-3 friends. We played basketball. So I made about 2-3 friends, and then boom, he just throws a rock at me. I don't think much of it. I'm like, okay, I don't care. I'm not trying to get in trouble today. So then he throws another one trying to get my attention. I don't care again. And then I think about 10 more minutes later, he throws a couple more, not once, one of them. He throws a couple more, 5 or 6 more. I'm like he's trying to get on my nerves a little bit. And then 5 minutes later, he throws another one. So I walk up to him like, what do you want? Stop throwing these rocks at me before what happens again. And he's like, he says that, I'm like, what? Then he just walks away. And he walked away like he was gay, not gonna lie. But anyways, kept throwing rocks at me, throwing rocks. And then he threw another rock, which was at least a little bigger. You know how they have those small rocks? They have small wood chips and rocks all over the playground. But I'm on the basketball court, so he picks one of the medium-sized rocks and throw them at my ribs, which really hurt a lot. So I went over there and I punched him, and then he's started sniffing, started crying. I got in trouble again. I was like, oh my god. And then at this point, I was just thinking, Mom, I don't even care anymore. Whenever I get the chance, I'm just gonna punch this kid every time he does something to annoy me. So what happens again? He throws a rock at me to get my attention. I'm like, okay, I'm going over there and punch him. And he's like, well, if you touch me again, my mom's gonna call the police on you and sue you. I'm like, I don't care. So then I punch him in his stomach. Well, not like a super hard punch because I didn't want to hurt him. Because like in 3rd grade, I was 5 foot, just exactly 5 foot or 5'1" or something like that, and about 180 pounds. So I don't want to hurt him. So what I do is just like punch him in his stomach, like barely, not even, it didn't even hurt like that. So I barely punch him in his stomach, and then boom, burst out crying again. And then one of his friends, he was friends with like the quiet kids and the weird ones that are into like weird stuff. So he's friends with them. They come over here like, hey bro, what are you doing? Though one of them always sounded like they had a stuffy nose. He's like, hey bro, what are you doing? And he had like freckles all over his face. I was like, well, tell your friend over here to stop throwing rocks at me and I'll stop punching him. And then he's like, then one of his friends are like, he hits me on my leg. So then that's his friend's first time hitting me on my leg. So this is what I do. I kick his leg, then he falls down. I'm like, I barely even kicked you. He's like, I starts yelling. I'm like, oh my god, now you're making a scene. At this point, I'm like, okay, I don't care. I'm waiting for the teacher to come over here. Because I know at the end of the day, I know what I did was my opinion, and I didn't care. What my opinion was, I felt like doing it. So, yeah. I get in trouble. Then I go to that, what do you call it? I go back to my classroom after the period, not period, after the recess, and then my teacher's like, Amir, can you come over here, please? I was like, oh my god. And they were like, well, what do you call it? You gotta, like, I was thinking about, like, oh, this is about the punching the two kids. I mean, kicking one kid and punching the other one. And he was like, but she's like, oh, well, you got a good grade on your test. But what I had said was like, okay, is this about me kicking the one kid and punching him? She was like, that's like right, like before she even talked about my grade, she was like, no, this was about your grade. But then she's like, so you punched a kid and kicked one? I was like, oh my god, got myself in even more trouble. She calls the office principal down here because he already knew. And what do you call it? So I didn't know that he didn't tell her. So I was like, oh my god, now my teacher knows, the recess teacher knows, and now the principal. So I was like, okay, now I'm gonna be like the big bully in school, which I don't want to be. I hate being the big bully. You know how people are like, oh, being a bully is cool. No, I don't want to be that. That's like stupid. So I'm like, oh my god, now people are gonna think I'm the big bully of the whole school. But then really what they don't know is that I had a reason, because they were just being annoying, throwing rocks at me and kicking me. So I got mad and I just like punched him, kicked him. And then there's one day he really, really got on my nerves. He got mad at me, for punching his friend, for kicking his friend the other day. He comes over and like, you know how, he's like a skinny kid, so like, you know how, like those wrestlers, they like run in like a bull and then they grab you. That's what he tried to do. I was 180 pounds. I think he was about like 100 pounds maybe, something like that. What happens is he tries to do it, but he hurts his head on my stomach. He's like, his head like hurt after he did that because I didn't move there. Like, I did not move at all because I'm a big kid. So then I'm like, what are you doing? Then he starts to burst out crying. I'm like, bro, I didn't even touch you. Literally did not lay a pinky on you. Because he got mad at me. So he's trying to like fight back. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You're not going to knock me over. So then he hurts his head and falls. And then the teacher runs over like, Amir, this is your like 5th time this week. I'm like, I didn't even touch him. What do you mean? She's like, well, then how did he fall? And I told her, I'm 180 pounds, 5'1". He's 100 pounds, 4'9". What do you expect? She's like, Well, still, why'd you hit him? I was like, I didn't even touch him. What are you talking about? Which really got me mad. And then he went to a different classroom, and then I stayed in the same classroom with my friends and all that, but he went to a whole different classroom. And that's the end of my first story. I have another story. Okay, so this other story is about, like, I had this old friend. Like, we used to be friends. He was in my friend group with like 3 or 4 friends we used to play basketball with. So then he was in the friend group of the school bully, which the school bully didn't bully me because he knew that I would do the same thing that I did to that other guy. Because he's like, his name was Elijah. So he was like way lighter than the other kid and weak. So whatever. His name was Elijah. So then he become friends with them. Okay. I don't know, he just started being mean to me. I was like, dude, what are you doing? Are you trying to act cool or something? He's like, no, I just hate you. I was like, okay, cool. Don't talk to me. And all my other friends, they don't talk to him because they didn't like him. So one day he's just playing basketball with the school bully's friends and the school bully. I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe he's actually doing this. So then one day I'm walking across, we were one like we played on these little courts, so I was one little court away from them, and I missed a shot, and then his name is Jaden, right? So he was like, "Huh, you suck, Amir," and then like I remembered like when he said that, I remembered like at least 2 hours ago before the what do you call it? Before recess started, we were at lunch because we have like lunch like I think an hour before recess. So then he's like, I bet you Amir's mom is fat and she's annoying and autistic. I was like, okay, I don't care. And then I remembered when he said that, when he said, oh, Amir, you're trash. And I was like, okay, if he says one more thing, I'm actually going to be mad. So I missed another shot. He just looks at me with this like dirty look, like I can't believe you missed that shot. So me and my friends just ignore it. We're playing, blah blah blah. When it's time to leave, he's like, I can't believe you missed all 3 of those shots. You suck. So I get mad while we're walking away. I got mad and I punched him in his back, and then he falls down. And I'm like, don't ever talk about my mom. Don't talk trash again. He's like crying on the floor. I don't know why he was talking trash in the first place. He was crying on the floor and everything. So then I was laughing with my friends because whenever I see someone that bullies me, like they're over there crying because of me, I just can't stop laughing. I don't know why. I just can't stop laughing. So I'm laughing over here. Then the musical teacher, she was outside for today, and I'm like, she's like, Amir, come here, and I tell her, what do you want? She's like, that's not how you talk to someone. I was like, okay, what? She's like, did you push Jaden? I was like, I didn't even push him. I punched him. And he's like, no, you punched me and you pushed me and you kicked me. I was like, I literally punched you once in your back. And then he's like, no. Then I'm like doing this, trying not to laugh while talking to the musical teacher. I'm like, yeah, but I didn't. And then she's like, don't laugh. I'm like, don't laugh. Okay. So I try not to laugh, and then once we're done talking, I walk away, and I start bursting out in laughter. And me and my friends, we couldn't stop laughing for like 10-20 minutes. And then the musical teacher's like, I need you to come back. I was like, what do you want? Like, not in front of her face, but I was thinking in my mind, what do you want? She's like, so why were you and your friends laughing for a long time? It's like, because it's funny. I can't laugh at something. But like, well, no, he was in pain. I was like, he deserved it. Talking about my mom? Would you be mad if someone talked about your mom? She didn't answer. I was like, okay. So then I just walked away. Then for doing that was like an actual big mistake I should have never done. I got in trouble for that. But my dad didn't really care because like they were talking about my mom and like hitting me and all that. I was like, he didn't really care. So he's like, okay, well, you did it for self-defense. So I was like, yeah. Then that's what happened. And now I have another story. 3 stories in one video. So there was one of these, like, there was this one big kid that's supposed to be in 7th grade, and mine that the school I'm in only goes up to 4th grade, but he's supposed to be in 7th grade, and he's in those special ed classes, so he's like 220 pounds, something like that, a little taller than me, and like we got into this whole fight. He was cussing at people and all that. I was like, dude, why are you cussing? And he's like, because I can too, because I can, you gay kid. I was like, okay, that doesn't make me mad. And like, what do you call it? Um, he was like a big kid, so he couldn't run fast. And at that time, I was like kind of a big kid, but I could still run fast for a big kid. So I was like, okay. So then what do you call it? When he like, oh hi gay kid, that actually made me mad. So then I tap him on his shoulder, which made him mad, and I start running around the playground, knowing he can't catch me. And then at the end, he starts running after me in like a ball, and then pushes me over. I'm like, dude, you didn't push me. I mean, well, he didn't push me over. He almost did. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, bro, I could bet you I could break your hand. So then he puts his hand around my arm. I grab my other hand and then like pull it off. I'm like, dude, are you trying to break my hand or something? He's like, yeah. So then out of a reaction, I punch him in his stomach, then I slap him. I'm like, dude, don't touch me. You see what I do to these other people? He's like, I don't care. So then he tells on me, I get in trouble. He gets in no trouble. And mine, they didn't even call my parents for all of these things. I'm so surprised. But I told my dad when I got home, and he didn't care because it was all in self-defense. So yeah, that happened, and then we had more problems in the future. And then after that, I think when I hit 4th grade, I got out of that school. Then I went to a new school. Then I had more problems with other kids. This is the last story. So, like, I went to this school. It wasn't a private school, it was a public school. The name of it is Mount Zion, and I had problem with like these 6th graders. And in mind, I'm in 5th grade right now, so like most of the people there are like white rich people, and they're like 4'9", 4'11", like super skinny. I'm like, okay. So none of these people are actually big, and they can't like bully me because like they know I can beat them up. In mine, some of the people take their wrestling. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So then one of the wrestling kids, he had a short temper. Okay, my friend made a joke to him like, oh, what, like we were in 5th grade, so we made stupid jokes as jokes like, oh, what's wrong with your hairline, dude? And he got mad at that, so he pushed my friend, and he looks at me like, gives me a dirty look, which got me mad. So then I go over there and punch him. Like, I always punch people. And then he's like, bro, what are you doing? You know I wrestle. I was like, okay, I don't care. Come wrestle me then. So then he runs after me like that one special ed kid. And I'm like, okay, bet, say less. So then I start running after him. Then I knock him to the floor. I'm like, dude, don't even try this right now. And he was one of the like strongest 5th graders. So I was like, don't, please. You're gonna regret it. So then everyone sees me do it. So now I don't get bullied. Well, people tried to bully me in that school, but they don't. But that's the end of the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe. If you subscribe, you're gonna get vlogs, story times, reactions sometimes, gaming and live streams, and playthroughs. I forgot names. Like, subscribe if you don't want to.